Welcome to another SPbN By Night revamped production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the SPbN By Night Twitch channel where we play St. Petersburg By Night, a massive multiplayer 5th edition World of Darkness Chronicle set in the city of St. Petersburg, Florida. My name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent on all social media. I am the lead storyteller of St. Pete By Night. You should go follow St. Pete By Night on all of the social media providers listed down below, as well as in the descriptions here on Twitch and YouTube. And I'm happy to announce that St. Pete By Night is now available as a podcast. So for those of you who can't keep up on all of the video content that we release to you each and every week, you can do so on your phone or on your other podcasting device. I don't even know if people still use iPods anymore, but if you do, we got something for you. So go check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much wherever you are finding your podcast these days. And if you can't find it there, let us know, and we'll find a way to get the podcast available to you on that streaming service. So get caught up. Listen to us on your drive. Listen to us during your workday. Listen to us wherever you have time. If you're cleaning the house, whatever the case may be, there is an option to get caught up because we have some amazing, amazing stories here on St. Pete By Night. And tonight's story is Rage Across Tampa. It's our Werewolf the Apocalypse Chronicle. And I'm guessing if you're watching right now, you've been keeping up to date with the story. But if you haven't, you can get caught up with the video on demand on Twitch, on YouTube, and of course, the aforementioned podcast that I can't plug enough. I couldn't do this alone, of course. I need a group to tell a story to. And I have one of the best groups I have ever worked with of all time. So I'm going to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves now. Players, say hi and introduce yourselves, if you please.
Hello, everyone. My name's Preston. I play Aiden Goodspeed, the Arun of the Galestalkers.
Hi, everybody. I'm Champ, Champagne, top cutie, cutin' on duty. And I will be playing Aspen Weiss, the Philodox of the Silverfangs.
Hello, everybody. I am Nori, and I will be playing Malicious Jester, the Galliard of the Black Furies.
Hi, everyone. I'm Simon. I'll be playing Joseph Ashbeaker, the urge from the Ghost Council.
The path towards building a cairn to reestablishing a sept in Tampa has been rocky, to say the very least. This pack has experienced its fair share of challenges, its fair share of losses, its fair share of obstacles, and just when it seems like they've had more than their fair share, the hits just keep on coming. Aspen has been dealing with the loss of her friend Rachel. Jester has been dealing with the loss of her friends in Stheno, and then the loss of Ryder, which seemed to impact the pack across the board. Aiden had to deal with the loss of his friend Stone, followed up, or his brother Stone, followed up by his newly acquainted friend Terrence, the one that he used his kin-seeking abilities to bring across into the world of the Guru before sending him off for further training with a sept up in Georgia. Joseph, while not experiencing as great of losses or as great of challenges, has been instead trying to find the way to bring this pack together, to establish this cairn, to make connections with the spirits. While he may have made up for some past transgressions with Grandmother Willow, there's still a lot of challenges that lay ahead, including how to best serve this pack and counseling them through their various losses over time. Tonight's story begins with Aiden and Joseph, who have come together for a very important conversation and for Aiden to try again to use his newly found kin-seeking abilities to seek out any other potential burgeoning werewolves that could be about to make their first changes within the city. Where are we tonight, Aiden, as you approach Joseph for his assistance in doing so?
He would have reached out to him and asked him to meet at Lettuce Lake.
So, Joseph, taking your beat up old sedan, you drive your way over to Lettuce Lake down the private gravel driveway into the park, where you find yourself beside the RV that has been the living facilities for Jester and Aiden for some time after Aspen made the switch and moved in with Artie. It's early afternoon. The sun still shines above. You can hear the sound of birds through the trees, as well as the occasional rustle of wildlife moving nearby, although wildlife has started to avoid this particular area due to the predators that often stalk these grounds. But Aiden, you're waiting outside of the RV when Joseph pulls up, and the scene is yours.
Aiden will be he'll have a few different things out, but when you see him, he comes out from a tree and it looks like he has just recently busted off a branch and is pulling leaves off of it.
Joseph, get out of the car. Walk ahead. Making a club?
No, I'm trying to dry leaves for the seeking that I need to do. So I'm
Okay.
trying a thing. I don't know how you guys, but I got leaves, so I think it's a good
Cool.
start.
Yeah, hang them up. We'll tie them up and hang them so that they can dry out and not get crumpled.
So no fire.
The fire will just burn them immediately and they won't be dry. Oh, you want to do it now? Okay, never mind. I thought you were going to dry them for later. Yeah. Okay, we can do the fire.
All right. I guess I could find dry leaves. I'm sure I can do. No, we're gonna do it now. No.
Yeah, no, they'll burn still. You just need a little bit more heat. Be okay.
I wanted your help today.
Yeah, of course.
So, as you know, I had to take Terrence away. It was nice to kind of get away for a bit, and it was good to see an established cairn and a lot of Guru together. Kind of gives hope. But there's others, like the other guru guys got me thinking that I need to see if there's more in the area. More need help. And the only way I can really do that is with the kin-seeking stuff.
Yeah.
But you have, I wouldn't say better vision because I feel like I can see better than you can, but you can see things.
Yeah, I got you. No, I'm glad to help.
Is it still working? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I'll just do the thing then.
Do your thing.
Okay. He'll kind of go over to a well, he's got like this little bucket. He'll kind of shift it into the ground, and he'll create a fire
So
and start.
gathering a bunch of the materials that you have nearby, you were provided some especially potent herbs from Eliza, who was able to put together a small kit, a right kit for you. However, you've also tried to incorporate a lot of the materials from your natural surroundings, from the place that you call home, to really make it your own, including chunks of moss from the trees, maybe some gathered dirt and leaves and broken branches from the forest beyond. And as you start to stoke the fire and put the materials together, Joseph, you see that it is unpracticed for Aiden. He's not the one to enact rituals. He's the one to observe rituals, if nothing else, most of the time. So you find opportunities to step in and assist, but you do so in a manner that is with a very, very gentle touch that is akin to Joseph, not to take over what he's doing, but rather to assist, something that you've done a lot with Eliza recently when she's been working on the rites and trying to teach them to you. Okay, so Aiden, I need you to enact the rite of kin-seeking, which is a wisdom and investigation roll. However, because of Joseph's assistance tonight, I will give you an additional die to that pool.
Cool. Three.
3 successes. Okay. So as you stoke up the fire, the smoke billowing above, you immerse your head into the smoke, making sure to breathe in as many of the smells, the kind of overwhelming odors coming from the fire pit, trying to block out your other senses, as Eliza had taught you before, that the importance of kin-seeking is really dulling and muting any other distractions, any other senses from nearby, or any other scent from nearby, especially to allow you to really pinpoint on the scent that discerns a to-be-made guru nearby. You cough several times as the smoke enters your lungs, but you do find the concentration to be able to absorb and to block out any other distractions that might pull you away as you project your senses outward, not just in the immediate vicinity, but further and further out. It takes a few moments. You've enacted this ritual and this rite before, and it was almost instantaneous. You could pick up on Terrence becoming so familiar with his particular scent, and you are a little disappointed, a little heartbroken, as that scent isn't to be detected anymore, as any traces of Terrence seem to be completely gone. You also notice that rather than the 3 additional scents that you picked up before, there is only one that hits your senses as you project further out to the city of Tampa around you. You pick up on one additional kin that has not yet made their first change, rather than where there was 3 before.
He'll lift his head out of the smoke and look to Joseph. I'm only there's only one. Terrence is one, but then there were the others.
Yeah, there were the three that were questionable.
Well,
Do you,
there. I only got one. There's one scent out there, and that's it.
I wonder if they shifted or if they left as well to find guidance.
I don't know.
Do you think you can track it?
Yeah, I can track it. You wanna go for a run?
Close enough to run, or do you want to drive with the window down?
Ooh. Okay, yeah, we can go for a drive.
All right. I'll jump in the car, open the passenger door.
Aiden will make sure to put the fire out. He'll throw some dirt on it to make sure that it's completely smothered before getting into the car.
Joseph would absolutely help with that.
Climbing into the sedan, your senses are pinpointed on that particular smell, despite the fact that you are around a lot of other distracting smells. The pollen of spring, the smell of the roadway as the car starts to move, the smell of restaurants that you pass by. Nothing seems to distract you. Not nearly as much as the last time you went kin-seeking with Artie, as you find your way headed in a southeasternly direction, heading to the highway, down the highway, and eventually making an exit and heading east. As you head eastward, you find that you are getting very familiar with the direction that you are heading in. And as you pull up to the same RV park that you had visited prior, you know that the scent is within.
I would park outside the RV park so we could walk the rest of the way.
This is the same place where the other three were.
Okay. So probably one of the same. The question is if they've shifted or if they've left. How do you want to go?
It's still daytime, right?
It is. It's getting to about mid-afternoon at this point.
I think we should stay like this. Just the sun's up pretty high still.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to walk in? Do we want to go see if we can find him more closely?
Yeah,
Or them?
I feel like we can walk in. It's just a trailer park. People wander.
Okay.
Aiden will lead the way.
Getting out of the car, walking into the trailer park itself, into the RV park. This isn't one of those trailer parks that's more of a long-term residence. This is for people who come on vacation and bring their own RVs with their own hookups. So as you make your way through, Aiden, having been here before, you can see that some of the RVs that you remembered from the first encounter, although the vision is still a little bit hazy, the memory is still a little bit hazy, you can still pinpoint some specifics that stand out to you. But some of the RVs have changed. Some of the people who had been taking residence here before have left, others have arrived. It looks like there's been a little bit of a changeover in the population. Following your scent and your memory both, you start making your way back towards one of the far corners, one of the more distant lots in the back of the park itself, where you know that RV to have been before. As you are making your approach, are you just heading directly there on foot, or are you trying to weave your way between some of the other units? How are you approaching this location?
Kind of nonchalant, just kind of like we wandering through a RV park. Not trying to draw too much attention, but kind of beelining to it because he's just following his nose, trying to see if it is that exact same location that it was in, or if it is somewhere a little bit different.
Okay, I'd like both of you to give me manipulation and subterfuge rolls as you are trying to appear nonchalant, but you clearly have a purpose and a direction you're heading in, but you want to make sure that any onlookers can't detect that purpose.
Could I use performance instead to act it?
Performance? Absolutely.
Cool.
Manipulation and performance. So despite your best efforts, you head in an almost beeline direction in the area of the RV. As you get closer and closer, drawing to the location, you can see that they have a pretty wide berth of space around them. No other RVs seem to be parked in the lots directly next to or in front of them. They've probably got at least 2 or 3 of these spaces keeping them from the next nearest RV. But as you draw closer, go ahead and roll wits and awareness, both of you. Four successes each. Perfect. As you draw closer, you can see that there are 2 individuals standing outside, milling about the RV. One of them, Aiden, you recognize to be Kyle, who you had met at the zoo. However, he looks, smells, and appears very, very different. It looks like he's grown at least another size in his clothing, mostly due to the bulky musculature that appears beneath a tight-fitting t-shirt. He is wearing long jeans that go down to boots, and it looks like the knees on both of the pant legs have been ripped, and he is keeping a very steady gaze, looking elsewhere as he talks in hushed voices to the individual's neck that he's with. The person he's next to is a young woman, easily in her early 20s, very, very early 20s, maybe even only 20 years old. She has long blonde hair, but it looks like there are shocks of purple that have been dyed into the hair that is swept back over her head. She's wearing a button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and she also looks like she's a little bit more on the muscular side, as you can see that her pecs are protruding and straining the edge of the fabric of the shirt. Both of you can go ahead and roll me a wits and insight to kind of tell what they're doing, what their purpose is. So Aiden with 1 success, Joseph with 5. Aiden, they're standing there. That's it. But Joseph, these are clearly sentries. They are on watch, and they are monitoring their surroundings with a very, very keen eye. But they do not appear to have detected you just yet. You are enough of a distance, probably a row or 2 away, but you can see their RV through some of the openings between the other RVs.
They got guards posted up.
Nah, it's that one guy there's Kyle, but he's a lot bigger. I don't know who the other person is, but I
Yeah,
don't look
he's
posted.
guarding. They're watching.
Well, the scent's coming from over there, so
You
they're
said
guarding.
he looks different?
Yeah, a lot bigger.
Okay. That answers one question, I guess. I mean, steroids don't act that fast.
Sure.
Joseph, looking in the direction that he's pointing, singling out Kyle, you can tell that Kyle is likely in his Glabro form as he stands on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look closer, Aiden, he's halfway there. He's in Glabro right now. I mean, he's brave, but that makes sense.
All right. Well, what do you suggest then?
I mean, they're watching for guarding. I don't know. You know him? I mean, I don't know. I've never dealt with them before. I don't know how friendly they'd be, but if you know him, I guess you can make that call if you think it's going to be a bad idea to say hi.
knowing him's a interesting word. I've seen him twice. Now that'd be 3. I had a little talk with him. Jester talked to him more than I did.
Oh, this is the one from the zoo?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got. I basically took his spot to go into the wolf pen over him.
Okay. What Jester said he needed to calm down, but he had some good ideas. Which they got crap.
I think a judgment call as far as us not engaging right now would be smart.
Yeah, they're waiting for a fight.
Yeah, if they're, you kind of like lean over, like if he is just Glabro out here, and the person he's with is not necessarily a small person, they might not really care about what happens out here.
Okay. We got an answer to our question then. It's not a good answer, but it's an answer. I don't feel like trying to sneak up in the middle of the day and catching a glimpse of it. But if you said there were 3 and now there's only 1, then maybe Kyle changed. Maybe another one did. I think we should head back to the car.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll let Aspen, Jester know, and Artie.
Yeah.
They're gonna start backtracking.
Turning around and making your way back, Joseph, give me a wits and occult roll. Something feels off. Something feels different.
Or
it might be something in the air. It might be something beyond. But you feel like you're being watched. You feel like there is something that has noticed you, but as you look around your surroundings, you don't see anything.
go a little quicker to the car. Can you drive yet? Okay, cool. This will be fun. I've not done this before. But head back to the car. Start the car. I'm gonna open up penumbral senses.
Okay, and go ahead and describe that again, how that particular gift is used.
Okay, so penumbral senses, I use an intelligence and wisdom roll. I spend a temporary will point, and I'm trying to pierce through the gauntlet. I'm going to take a second, focus myself, and try to open my eyes to the other side, allowing me to see both the physical and the umbral worlds at the same time. And things on the Umbra can kind of notice that I can see them, although I'm not all the way over there. So I'm going to see if there's my thought is there's an umbral werewolf behind us. So we'll see.
Okay, so go ahead and make the roll.
That is 4 successes on my roll.
With a steadying breath, closing your eyes, calming your heart, which is likely sped up a little bit at the moment, feeling that unusual presence. You take that steadying breath and you open your eyes, and again, in almost the overexposed photo laid upon another, you can see the trailer park, which on the other side, there doesn't appear to be any presence of the Weaver, any structures whatsoever. Everything here is so temporary in its very nature, with it being RVs. The Weaver doesn't take time to build anything. The only thing that really stands out is the fences that go around the borders of the property, and one building more near the center of the complex, which appears to be the administrative building for this particular facility. But everything else appears to be very temporary. It hasn't made its mark. It's not hard to notice 2 things as you look to the other side. One, a very strong sense of power coming from the approximate area of the RV. You get the sensation that there is likely a cairn here, and that it has been built and established. It's not extremely potent, as some of the other cairns are when you've been closer to them, the more established cairns. This seems to be a recent addition. But you also see two lupus form wolves in the Umbra prowling around the facility, and one of them has eyes on you.
Okay. I will nod deferentially and back away.
Okay. Do you keep your penumbral senses activated as you start the car and start driving
Yeah,
away? Or...
yeah. I will for a little bit to get it. Once we get off like the road that leads down to the park, I will keep penumbral senses on and see how well that works in the rearview mirror.
Okay, go ahead and give me a dexterity and drive, but I want you to subtract 1 dice because it is very distracting looking at two versions of the world at the same time. You've never driven with penumbral senses active before, so while you see where you're going, there is this strange other version laid over it.
I did get 1 success.
So you stick to the road primarily, occasionally going off onto the shoulder a little bit, causing some gravel and some of the detritus along the edge of the road to fly up, maybe bumping or going over a curb momentarily, but nothing too detrimental. You are able to stay on the road. When you first depart, you can see the wolf that had eyes on you. The other seems to be oblivious to your presence as it prowls along the exterior of the area. But this one seems to be very much focused on you and stays focused on you until you pass beyond where its field of view can watch, being obscured by trees both on this plane and in the Umbra itself, allowing to break the line of sight.
Once that line of sight is broken, I will drop penumbral senses and drive like a normal human.
Where are you headed?
Not a straight line back to anywhere. So probably just somewhere like parking, like somewhere where there's like a business, a fast food place, something like that, so we can park for a second and figure out what we're gonna do.
Okay. So driving about a mile and a half away from the facility, you do find one of the many, many strip malls that line pretty much every major roadway in Florida. You do find one off the side of the road that you pull into and park.
Sorry about the crappy driving.
Better than I
That
could
was
do.
a first. They saw us. They had 2 of us on the other side keeping guard as well.
Yeah, so good idea not to just.
Yeah, no, we were in their bond.
Okay, so at least 4 is what we're looking at.
Yeah, probably more. It's more serious than that. You know what a bond is?
Nope.
Have you heard that? Okay, so bond is the territory around a cairn that is claimed by the sept.
Okay.
So they would have marked all around that RV. We didn't smell it, that RV camp, and the center where that cabin was seems like the center of energy. They beat us to the punch. They've established a small cairn in that RV park.
How?
the same way we're doing. They did the right. They probably got a spirit of some kind and made a connection. We don't know how long they've been there, hiding, laying low. I mean, they already had 3 kin, 2 of which have safely assumed crossed over. They have 2 Geru able to stay in the Umbra to guard, which that's a feat. Being in the Umbra for a long time can be draining, so they're probably taking shifts.
Okay. So another caern, and they have a spirit. Is that going to be a problem?
I don't know. I shouldn't be a problem on the spirit side. It's just political disagreements because they are the cult.
Okay, so Aspen's thing.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we're not exactly like full pushing Geru Nation on everybody because the nation's not really here and it's just us, so maybe they're not going to try to kill us immediately. I don't know how good they're going to be at negotiating, and like I feel like it's going to be a whole group of, I don't know if there's good words for it.
It's gonna be hard. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. It's gonna be hard.
She's got it. She's good with those kind of things.
Yeah, we're gonna have to head back to meet up with everybody. We still gotta take care of our little friend in the cemetery. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. We'll just take it one step at a time. We'll handle our friend at the cemetery.
Yeah,
And
that's the next first step, definitely. And then we'll figure out how to negotiate the politics of living next to terrorists.
yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, now that I get that off my chest, we can drive and meet up with people at some point. Let's see if we can reach out and get a hold of everybody.
And to answer your question, I could drive. I've seen enough people do it. It just won't be good, and
Okay.
the police will not be happy.
Oh, yeah. Well, just don't get caught, which would be tricky. We'll work on that.
Sure. Yeah. Teach me how to drive. That'd be fun.
Oh, it'd be easier with Regina because she could like catch you when you. We'll get there. That's a later. That is a non-emergency thing.
Yeah. But yeah, if you can take me back to Lettuce Lake, be good.
Yeah.
Thank you. This was
We'll do that.
This is good.
You make the return to Lettuce Lake. Aiden, you know that at some point you're going to be meeting up with Aspen and Jester to head to the memorial for Ryder that is being held by the motorcycle club. It's been an event that Jester's been planning on and off for the past week in coordination with the motorcyclists who just want to pay their respects to their fallen brother. So as you return to the motorcycle club, return to Lettuce Lake, Joseph, you head off to continue your preparations and your research into banes to prepare for the cleansing that the pack is going to attempt at the hopeful future home of the Sept. Aiden, you eventually get the text, and Aspen is going to come pick you up on the way to the motorcycle club, which transitions us to later in the evening. Aspen, you've picked up Aiden, you've picked up Jester, and you've made your way till you're outside of the completely painted black building made of concrete with boarded over windows that is the motorcycle club. In the driveway, you can see several motorcycles, probably more than there have ever been on any of your previous visits to the club. When you get there, the sound coming out of the club itself is overwhelming. When it could be defined as a dissonance or a cacophony of sound before. It is now just an outright wall of sound coming from the club as there are voices, there is loud music. This is a large gathering. You can even see some individuals hanging out in the parking lot, smoking and chatting. Some of them have beer bottles in their hands as they drink, and they all seem to be wearing similar vests in their finest attire, which is putting the term very, very loosely. But some are coming in and going from the building as it seems this is a large gathering that has come together. But the scene is yours as you arrive and are still within Regina.
Aspen is dressed down. She's wearing more workout clothes in a way. So she's got a tank top and some yoga pants on, some regular sneakers, and her hair is pulled back into a ponytail. All right, so what's the plan, Jester?
So I was just going to speak with them, and I'm hoping you can help me get a feel for what they think about us, if they want to have continued connection with us, things like that. I was looking for extra backup, and Aiden said he wanted to meet some of them too, so I thought this might be a good opportunity. I brought bourbon as a gift.
It's a good gift.
It's okay, Aiden.
Well, I guess no time like the present. And she pats the dashboard.
And Jester, how are you attired for this gathering?
Jester is wearing a black tank top, a collar, a pair of jeans, and motorcycle boots. Also, if possible, would have stopped at Greer's storage now that they have the keys and picked up Ryder's jacket.
Okay. Yes, when you did stop by Greer's, you found that the storage unit was a lot larger than you originally saw. You saw the parked prisoner transportation vehicle, you saw the lockers that contained the uniforms, but it seems that there's a lot more storage pushed further back in the facility. And as you've been exploring through what's contained there, you did come upon one of Ryder's jackets and one of Ryder's vests belonging to the motorcycle club. It seemed like he had several pairs of these or several different versions of this, and you pick two of the finest and take them with you. As you emerge from the vehicle, you can't help but notice the gaze of the other bikers parked nearby upon you, but they almost immediately dismiss it and go back to their talking, as it appears there are a lot of people coming and going from this venue tonight. They just assume to write you off as others who have come by to pay your respects. When you make your way in, it's almost deafening, the sound of noise coming from inside the building. Once you open the door, you can physically feel the pulsating rhythms hit you and wash over you as you make your way in. A lot of the bikers look, but many don't, and Sticky Ricky, the large bouncer, approaches the door, but seeing that it's all of you, gives a hand of wave, like a wave to say his greeting, and dismisses the looks of the other bikers, gesturing for them to go back about their business as you make your way in.
Yeah, I'll step in and wave to Ricky, hold out the bottle.
He makes his way over with a smile, and you can see that all of them are wearing their motorcycle vests, but there appears to be a black strip of fabric that goes over one of the shoulders of the vest itself, as if it is a funeral adjustment or an addition that they've added to their attire to designate the importance of the evening. Ricky approaches. Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you too. I brought some of Ryder's vests and a jacket.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, we got I guess an effigy of sorts, and I'm not here. He holds out his hands to take the vest and jacket from you and walks over, and you can see that the pool table has been pushed against the far wall and that there are several photos and other identifying markers of Ryder that have been laid out on the pool table itself. He takes the vest and lays it down on one end, takes the jacket and lays it down on the other. Looking over these photos is a strangely triggering moment for all of you, because this is the first time you've really looked upon Ryder since he was buried. And you can see in a lot of the photos that he's in group photos, almost always at the front of the group. And while the others might be smiling and laughing and making faces, his face is rather stoic in most of the photos. He doesn't seem to take on a lot of the merriment of those around him, always keeping a stern gaze as he looks in the photos. What's going through each of your minds looking upon Ryder once more? Aiden, we'll start with you.
It's a bit weird seeing Ryder with other people. He saw him more of an acquaintance, someone who did best him, so he had that respect for him, but seeing him with others is odd because he only knew him as this person, this guru that was alone.
Aspen.
It's a bit of a melancholic feeling, knowing that he had friends and people around him. It's nice to see, but it also brings back, he lost a lot of people and we lost him, and it's a hard life we live, and it's unfortunate that we didn't get to make amends fully before he was gone, but it's nice to see that he had, a whole life.
And Jester.
He looks better in the pictures than the last memory of him burned in my mind. I'll pull back the memories of the others of his sept joining him in the last minutes with Mary. And then I'll turn, I need a drink.
Let's go get one.
Heading over to the bar, you can see several bottles are already positioned on the bar, several glasses, although it seems like there are more glasses than bottles, as many of the patrons in the establishment have just taken a bottle rather than pouring a glass of any particular beverage. Ricky has placed your bottle of bourbon on the bar as well, lining up with all of the others. What are you making for yourselves in terms of drinks?
I'm making an old-fashioned.
Looking for lemonade or water.
Aspen is going to find water for Aiden, for sure. And she is going to grab whatever, probably the bourbon, because she knows where it came from, so it's safest. And she will pour it for herself, but she barely touches it.
Having made your drinks, you can hear several different conversations. Some bikers appear to be catching up, having not seen each other in quite a while. Others seem to be talking and telling stories about Ryder. Jester, as you take your first sip of your old-fashioned, a familiarity washes over you as you hear these various conversations, these various voices all around. Though you've never met most of the individuals in this establishment, maybe it's the taste of the liquor on your tongue, but it triggers a knowledge, a strange familiarity. You could almost name 75% of the people in this bar. You can remember stories that aren't yours, as if they're vague, faint memories that were once yours. You remember fighting with Bruce over there outside of a bar, just having a little bit of a spar, a little bit of a scrap, which you won very, very handily, but you were holding back with everything you had. You even gave him the honor of getting one good punch on you, just to make him feel better for the pounding that was about to happen. You see Susan, one of the biker bitches in the bar, who you remember being kind of like the biker mom of the group. She's a lot older, appearing to be in her mid to late 50s, but you know she's one tough broad. And if dinner wasn't ready, you didn't help yourself beforehand if you weren't going to get a spatula or a ladle upside the head to remind you that she will tell you when you can eat. These memories flood over you almost like a drunken haze, even though you haven't consumed enough for it to nearly affect you the way that it does. It's just a slow, drizzling effect as they start to seep in and wash over you, clouding your judgment and your memory for a few moments. Aspen, go ahead and roll me a wits and insight. As you can see, Jester's getting a little bit more of a far off look in her eye.
2.
Something's going on with Jester, but it's hard to say what it is. Could be she's overcome with emotion just being in the location, but there is definitely something off about the way that she's acting at the moment.
Aspen leans over, scooting her drink over that she still hasn't touched. You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just, it's a lot.
Do you want to say something?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Well, I guess no time like the present. And she scoots her drink over and she stands up onto the bar. Excuse me.
Go ahead and give me a either charisma or manipulation, whatever your intention is, and either leadership or persuasion to break through the loud noise that is making an almost deafening roar around you to try and get their attention.
Can I add my favor to this since it's either leadership or persuasion?
Yes, you can.
Five.
Calling upon the strength of the falcon and everything that it is to be a silver fang, you project your voice so clearly, so directly, and with so much intention that everyone falls quiet, looking in your direction. The conversations die off quickly with an immediacy of someone important is talking. You even see someone else near the boombox immediately move over and push the button, stopping the music until the entire place falls silent.
She'll look at the crowd. Well, seems like we have quite a group of people all knowing Ryder, appreciating him in some way or another. But we do have one here. One that was there for his last ride. Someone who was given the pleasure, and she'd like to speak, and I'll pull Jester up onto the bar.
I'll climb up after downing the drink.
You can hear some murmurs as you're lifting Jester up onto the bar. Some people being like, "Who's that?" Or "I've never seen them before." A little bit of confusion, but they are strangely maintaining a respect for the order you've called to the entire establishment, just simply whispering to one another off to the side before falling silent once Jester is fully up on the bar.
I'll lean over and whisper, "You are scary good at getting people's attention." And then look out to the bar. Hello, everyone. Most of you probably don't know me. I was relatively new to meeting Ryder in the last 6 months or so. My name's Jester, and she was right. I was there for Ryder's last ride, and I would love to tell you the story of it.
You have their rapt attention. They are all on pins and needles or on the edge of their seat, waiting to hear. A lot of them who were having side conversations or whispering, falling very quiet. as one of them pipes up and says, "Yeah, what happened?"
It started with a ride, though not on his bike. It was a ride in a prison bus as we traveled to the penitentiary to release some prisoners who had been wrongly incarcerated. Both of us were dressed in guard attire, so I got us in by pretending that there was a mix-up with paperwork, and we snuck in and were able to locate 3 of the missing prisoners.
One of the other bikers calls out from across the room, "Yeah, shame those uniforms fell off the back of a truck, huh?" And the others around them start laughing.
I'll laugh with them. Yeah, that's a shame. I'm sure nobody missed him.
Who are they trying to get out?
The people that were accused of the electric company bombing. Those in power, as I'm sure you all well know, because fucking cops and the fucking government, decided to use some scapegoats because they couldn't find the right people. But Ryder said he'd help me get them out, and he did. The guards were no match for Ryder. Like, one time he swept up and, like, slammed one against the wall, and the other he just punched straight out. And as we snuck and fought through a few guards that were in the corners, standing in their positions, we came to the solitary confinement hall. Fortunately, they had guns, and those guns went off, and it alerted other guards. But Ryder had the brilliant idea to set off the lockdown and lock us in solitary confinement, where I knew he was strong, but I didn't know he was this strong. With, breaking apart some of the beds, we managed to break down the wall inside solitary confinement.
There's a few whispers, a little bit of confusion, but for the most part, most of the viewers, most of the others within the establishment just nod their heads, some of them giving off like a grunt of approval.
We crossed the yard, and I cut open the gate. But as we were freeing our prisoners, Ryder took a few hits from the guns. And as we escaped, he bled out.
Give me a manipulation and performance roll, Jester.
Storytelling?
Story. Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Storytelling. It's manipulation because there's definitely some lies in there, but you're omitting certain bits of information.
Seven successes with a crit.
The crowd is quiet at first. There's a sense of some surprise. At first, a little bit of suspicion or confusion. But as one of the bikers in the back yells out, "What a fucking hero!" the others immediately let out a roar of agreement and approval, a lot of the suspicion being washed away. Eventually, as your story finishes, others start to chime up with their own stories, talking about maybe some missions that went right, some that went wrong, but how Ryder was always first in, last out.
He was a hero, and he was loyal.
Jester, as you're hearing all of these various stories pipe up, that same strange familiarity washes over. You even get brief glimpses, brief flashes of being at those particular events, of the wind whipping through your hair as you're on a long ride down to the Everglades to dispose of some incriminating evidence. Another time, you're breaking into a locked down establishment, a perhaps factory of some sorts. And the most vivid and potent image that comes to your mind is outside of a hospital just some months ago, where you were tasked with interfering with the shipment of certain drugs that were being brought into the hospital, and you feel yourself begrudgingly, and I mean begrudgingly, telling the others that they can't kill anyone, but if they want to rough them up a little, that's okay.
I'm going to sit on the bar and just rub my forehead, laughing a couple times.
I'll sit
Ryder,
down next to her, pour her another drink, still holding mine, not touching it.
as you hear the stories, Ryder had a life. In the telling of it, he was loved. In his actions, his love was returned, but that he was never a very personal person. The stories that are told of him are of his actions, of the things he did, the crazy stunts he pulled. You don't hear a lot of stories about how he consoled someone or made someone feel better. These were stories of leadership. These were stories of intense actions, of staring down the face of death and danger and emerging from the other side. Sometimes a little banged up, but for the most part unscathed. The things he did helped these people, even if that wasn't the intention behind why they were done. Being Guru gives you a unique perspective, an opportunity to see beyond what most normal people see on the surface. Yeah, he got some scores for money, or he took some materials. But clearly, the purpose behind these actions wasn't the end goal. He had something else in mind. He was striking back against something. And with the knowledge of who he was and what he was doing, this was his fight against the worm. A fight that, despite having these alliances, despite having these cohorts, he was very clearly fighting alone. And Jester, you can feel the loneliness in this fight, in the fact that he couldn't really tell these people why they were doing what they were doing. That it wasn't about the money or the drugs or the rebellion. You could see him doing a little bit extra, whether it was getting names or addresses or dispatching of particular individuals with a malice and an aggression akin to one on the brink of frenzy. He had a purpose. And while many could call it selfish, that he would lead these people in situations they didn't have full comprehension of, he carried the burden of it all on himself, all alone. That he would use the bikers as distractions or as maybe a little bit of backup, something to take care of the unknowing or the unaware, while he would go in and take care of whatever the supernatural threat was, often on his own. The victories never felt very sweet. Instead, it felt like an endless task that you were running towards a finish line that was always just out of reach. And everything, every little ounce, was filled with anger and fury. A vendetta, a score that he was not able to settle, no matter how many leeches he killed, no matter how many other servitors of the worm he dispatched, no matter how many organizations he damaged or toppled. There would always be another that would rise up in its place. The battle couldn't be won because the scope of it couldn't be truly seen at any given time. He was a soldier in an endless war. And no amount of victories could make up for the loss, the greatest loss, that he carried with him every single day. You see faces in your mind you can't identify, even though they seem familiar. Individuals that held some sort of significance or importance to him. You see the woman from the photos, Holly, as well as some of the other faces in your mind. Those are the things he carried with him in every single fight. Things that he wanted so desperately to bring back but couldn't. He was never going to be satisfied.
He was so alone.
Yeah. It's rough being this, but as long as I can help it, we're gonna have each other. So
I'll take her hand and squeeze it. Yeah. I think I need to talk to Eliza. His memories are sticking longer than I expected them to.
maybe Eliza, maybe grandmother will know.
Maybe. Maybe my lesson's not done yet.
You're carrying his legacy in more ways than one.
Yeah. Look out to the bikers as they're continuing. They're gonna take work.
100%. Hey, Aiden.
Hmm?
Do you want to go get in a scrap?
Yeah?
As long as you're good about it and you hold back, I'll let you.
When you say hold back, like limbs stay on or like dislocate
Yes.
stuff?
Like, act like you don't have what you have.
Alright, yeah. Where's the biggest dude?
go find him.
There's probably some outside that want to fight.
Aiden, go ahead and give me a wits and investigation as you look around the bar trying to find the biggest and scrappiest individual you can.
4.
It's not hard. Sticky Ricky would probably be the best bet, but he's attending to other duties. So you look for another, and eventually you do come across a completely bald, bearded man who's standing outside smoking a cigar that seems to constantly be cracking his knuckles and flexing and boasting about all of his conquests, both in the street and the bedroom.
You got something to actually back those words up there, buddy? You'll smack him in the chest.
He looks down at where you made contact, then looks up. New kid, huh?
You could say that.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a party if it wasn't. Yeah. Grab a bottle. You're gonna want to be numb for this.
Oh, I'm good right now. Feeling it. Had some of that clear stuff back there.
Oh, all right. Well, before we do this, we should share a drink together. Then he pulls out a flask from his pocket and takes a big drink of it before shoving it forcefully into your chest. That's the way we do things here.
What is it?
You'll have to drink it to find out.
He'll kind of look around, see if Aspen's looking, and notice she's nowhere around. Take a quick swig.
Go ahead and give me a stamina and composure check, as what hits your mouth is one of the foulest, strongest tasting liquids you've ever had, which others, normal people, would probably know as moonshine.
That's 5.
Okay. So while it does taste foul, and for a moment staggers you a little bit on your feet, you do manage to keep your composure. You do manage to stomach the fluid, and it doesn't seem, as of yet, that it has had any effect on your capabilities, on your awareness. As he takes back the flask from you, he takes another drink himself before capping it and handing it off to one of the other bikers, who gratefully helps themselves to a drink of it. He moves out into the parking lot, starts shrugging his shoulders a little bit, shaking out his hands, and flexing. Don't hurt me too bad, new kid.
I'll try not to. You have good insurance, right?
Do you?
No.
You'll be fine.
At that point, Aiden will take off his vest and his shirt. Kind of just toss them to the side.
Okay. So how are you approaching this particular conflict?
I'm going to take 2 dice away. Or take a 2 dice penalty. I don't know if you want me to roll all of them or just take 2 away, but he is holding back.
If you want to hold back, then you can pull 2 dice on your own,
Okay.
to
All right.
try and not cause too much injury here.
Okay.
Okay. So as you approach, describe how you are engaging with your first attack in this conflict.
For the first one, he's going to just try and dodge and weave out of it. Just try and see how fast this guy is to try and gauge what level he can actually fight this guy at.
Okay. So are you attempting to just observe his movements and dodge on the first attack, or are you actually going to go in for an attack of your own?
There'll be a strike, but he'll probably just step out of the way and like smack him in the back of the head if he can actually get around him.
Okay, go ahead and make a strength and brawl check. So you are successful on the smack of the back of the head as he tries to do a cross jab towards you. You sidestep it and give him a little whap on the back of the head. To say that angers him is an understatement, as he immediately lets out an entire string of curses as he stumbles past you, the slap on the back of the head being more insult than injury at the particular moment. He turns around and instead rushes at you, preparing to seemingly tackle you in the midsection and bring you down to the ground.
Yeah, he'll allow him to get wrapped up, hold, and then go with a hammer fist straight to the spine.
Okay, another strength and brawl.
Five.
5 successes. Okay. As you both get wrapped up, you feel your body getting squeezed, strongly squeezed, but you are able to bring down the fists on the back of him, causing him to let out a gasp of air as all the air rushes out of his lungs and he loses his grip on you. If he'd continue to squeeze, maybe if you weren't as supernaturally capable, it probably would have hurt, but because of your stout guru form, you were able to absorb the force that he was squeezing with and counter with the strike to the back, which breaks his grip around your back and keeps him from actually being able to force you to the ground. He drops down to a knee and at first pants a few times trying to catch his breath, but then the pant starts to turn into a chuckle. Okay, you've got moves. I'll give you that. And he immediately goes to try and uppercut up into you from his kneeled position.
The thought to grab the arm and rip it off passes through his mind briefly, but then remembers what Aspen and Jester told him, that he needs to stay intact. At that point, he's just going to back up.
Okay, so Dex and Athletics.
Two.
So as you try to sidestep or back up away from the uppercut, he actually does connect with you, driving his fist into your jaw upwards, which helps your backward momentum, but a little more than you intended to, and sends you dropping back a few paces as you take 2 superficial damage, and that is already halved.
Damn.
He put a lot of mustard behind that one.
Yeah. He'll kind of. That was a solid hit.
Take a point of rage,
Okay.
as you have now been damaged in a way, and I'd like you to make a composure and resolve check, please.
Okay. Any penalties or anything for this?
Nope.
Okay. 4.
You feel the anger rising up within you, but again, thinking to Aspen and her instructions, thinking to the fact that this guy doesn't know fully what he's dealing with, doesn't know fully what you're capable of. You are able to keep that anger, that rage, and that frenzy at bay. As he stands back to his feet, cracking his knuckles again, and even cracking his neck as he twists his head to both sides. You're still standing. That's more than most I've encountered.
I got that Moxie, I think it's what it's called. Yeah, that's a word, right?
I think the others would call it stupid stubbornness, eh, boys? And you hear some laughter from some of the other bikers nearby.
I can't deny that.
All right, stop fucking around. Show me what you got. And he beckons you.
All right. He's going to rush forward at him, doing the similar tackle that he did, but I'm going to only take 1 dice away this time.
Okay. Go ahead and roll it. Strength and brawl.
Six with a crit.
6 with a critical. You move with a quickness and a speed that he clearly wasn't prepared for after what he thought cleaned your clock. So you rush into him, and his chuckle quickly turns to an ooh as he's hit in the midsection and driven down to the ground hard. Hard as his body makes contact in an almost thundering sound as he hits the back of the ground with a heavy thud. The force with which you hit him, most people couldn't sustain. It would probably have knocked out most individuals very, very quickly. While he seems conscious still as he hits the ground, he is definitely bordering on the brink of consciousness. He seems to be very, very dizzy and off kilter as he tries to pick himself back up off the ground. But he is struggling with it.
I'm going to grab the back of his neck, and then with the hand kind of open, like, you ever seen the movie Roadhouse?
Road.
I'm just messing with you. Are we done?
He just nods a couple of times and then just lays back on the ground, not even attempting to make the effort to get up at this point.
Anybody else?
The other bikers look down at the fallen man, then look back at you and shake their head, some of them even giving a small clap of approval or applause, several others just turning around and heading back into the bar without any interest in pursuing further conflict with you.
Someone should get this guy some water. I think he's had enough. And Aiden will go grab his shirt, put it on in his vest, and head back inside.
Okay. So as Aiden makes his way back in, Aspen, Jester, you can see a little bit of purple forming on his jaw, but during the conflict, is there anything you two would have wished to talk about before he makes his entrance in again?
You just gonna let him run off and play with the bikers?
I mean, unless you want to watch. What better way to, make friends here?
Good point.
We have our tactics. He has his. Why not let him shine a little?
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to meet them, so this might be a good way.
Exactly. The only thing is,
Go ahead.
he has to win, though, because if not, he's going to be shamed, and then that's going to be a problem. So, but I have all the confidence in him. It's fine.
I mean, I've seen him fight. I think he's got it.
Aspen and Jester, several of the bikers, during his little scrap, try to come up to you and offer you drinks or convince you to have drinks with them. If you don't want to, go ahead and make me a charisma and persuasion to try and convince them not to. If you do, make me a stamina and resolve check.
Are any of them cute?
I'd say yeah. I mean, they have the rough around the edges quality, the bad boy quality, but yeah, I would say so.
All right. I'll do the stamina and resolve.
That's a 6 for my persuasion.
You are very easily able to talk them out of it and just convince them that you're good with what you have. You've had enough, or whatever the case may be, to the point that they some of them sadly mope away. Others are just like, and then turn back to the rest of the gathering.
I got 4 successes.
You are definitely able to stomach the booze you're given. You can feel that it's having its effects, but they're not going to be immediate. The more drinks that you have, you'll probably feel this a little bit tomorrow, but you're standing strong. You haven't blacked out or anything.
Cool.
So about this time, Aiden makes his way in. You can see that he's a little banged up, but it's barely noticeable as he returns.
How'd it go?
It's all right.
Did you win?
Of course I won.
Okay.
Do you remember that scene in Roadhouse where he's gonna rip the dude's throat out? Okay. Aspen will watch that. It's great. But I scared him, I think. But I didn't actually rip his throat out. He's intact.
Good.
Did you get his name? Did you make friends?
No, he's a bald guy with really hot water.
Hot water. Interesting.
Yeah, he had like a little flat cup thing. And he said that in order to actually fight him, I had to take a drink of it. And when I drank it, it was warm, but it felt like drinking hot water, and it hurt going down.
That was alcohol, Aiden.
I didn't like it.
Okay.
Why do people drink this?
Because it gives you a nice feeling after you have so much of it. But if you have too much of it, you start to get sick. Speaking of which, I probably should stop.
That's way too much thinking just to drink something. Just drink water.
Some people like it, some people don't. But it sounds like you did make friends, though. You shared a drink with somebody? That's sweet.
Yeah, I got a little clap thing at the end. I asked if anyone else wanted to fight, but they just kind of turned away.
Oh, well. If you beat their biggest, probably the others are like, we can't beat you either.
Oh, so I should start off with the smallest guy and then work my way up?
I mean, that really wouldn't be fair at all.
There'd be more fights, though. That'd be
It
fun.
would be more fights. You should probably just stick with fighting me.
Yeah, but you're getting pretty good, and I'm getting more and more bruises every time we fight. That I got hit here, and that was it.
The revelry continues for several hours. You can tell based off of the mood at the party, it's probably going to go pretty late. How long do you all end up staying with the bikers?
I'm thinking probably only a couple hours for now. Mingle, listen to a few more stories. Try to get Aiden to tell the story of his spar with Ryder.
And I would stay as long as Jester wants to stay.
Okay, Aiden, why don't you tell the story as best as you can of your spar with Ryder?
I'll assist, like putting in a few hints or comments when it's like, can't talk about that.
So first time meeting Ryder, he meets some friends of mine that all showed up, and when we did, he looked at me and he learned a little bit about me and immediately asked if I wanted to fight him. And I enjoy a good fight. You can ask bald guy out there. But my fights in the past went pretty smooth, but Ryder had a way of causing pain to hurt more. Every hit or every move he did with such power. There was so much behind everything that he did that he called it from somewhere. And he would pick me up and he threw me across the room like I was a tissue. and I banged up against some metal, and then he didn't just stop there. He then followed through with it to continue to keep hitting me until he tossed me to another side of the room, where I then stood up and I got a hit in. And that was one of the more proud moments I've had with him, because I was not really expecting to land anything after I'd been tossed around like a rag doll. But overall, you can tell a lot when you fight someone, especially someone who can fight like he can. And he was a great leader. He had a lot to teach, and he was willing to do so. May not be the nicest way, but he would help you in any way he could.
Go ahead and give me a charisma and performance, even though you are not the performative type, so you can add an additional dice from Jester's assistance. Zero successes. Some of the bikers pay attention, but most of them just kind of laugh and jeer and eventually get distracted by something else. At the end of it, one of the bikers calls out, "You should have called him Daddy!"
He's not my dad.
They just and just chuckle, but eventually you end up departing a little bit earlier. You know the party's going to go on for a while, and Jester, as you go to leave, you feel a part of you not wanting to, a part of you wanting to stay, a part of you wanting to stay with this newfound family, this safe harbor, this place that took you in when you had nowhere else to go. There's a respect for these people, a respect that's missing, that's lacking from most others of the unaware, of the normal humans in the world. These are good guys and girls. These are good people. And they had your back when you needed it. They gave you a place when you didn't have anywhere else. While they would never remotely come close to the connection you had with those you've lost, with those you came before, it was a small comfort in your final days to have these people in your life, in your final years. They could never fully understand, no matter how much you wanted to tell them, no matter how much you wanted to feel that kind of connection. A silver medal isn't always a bad thing. And this was your silver medal. Till the end. With that, we're going to take our break. Enjoy the fan art sequence. We actually have some new art pieces that we've included into this commercial break, so please enjoy them, and we'll be back in about 5 or so minutes. We'll see you soon. Welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a good break. Our story resumes with the group gathered at what will be, if all goes well, their future home, their future cairn at the Memorial Park. You have come together, restored once more the next day. Jester, Aiden, you both feel the effects of last night's revelry in different ways, but not too dramatically. Nothing that would be considered inhibiting. But Aiden, it felt like you had poison in your stomach throughout the remainder of the evening. And this morning, your mouth feels a little bit drier than usual. Your brain feels like it's being squeezed ever so slightly. Jester, a similar sensation, but not one that you haven't experienced in the past when you've been living it up a little bit more. If anything, it feels more muted, a little bit more dulled than it had when you were enjoying such revelries in your pre-change form. It seems like your new life has been able to absorb a lot more of this than it would have previously. But you definitely feel the slight tinge of a hangover in your existence. But you have come together at the Memorial Park, and you stand some distance away from the crematorium on the grounds. Joseph and Artie have arrived, as has Eliza, as you prepare for your encounter with the bane that clearly has taken up home within the crematorium. The scene is yours.
My head hurts.
I'll hold
What
the water
happened?
bottle out to Aiden. Drink.
Thanks.
This is why we don't drink alcohol.
I didn't know it was alcohol.
Anyways,
Stupid tea water and your hot water. Just water's water, right? Just leave it alone.
I agree. But we're here for, reasons. So you gotta get it together a little bit. Drink your water. You'll be fine.
Okay.
Sounds like you guys had fun last night, Artie says.
Yeah. It was fun.
Well, I looked at the schedule for today for the grounds, and things are clear. There doesn't seem to be any major events happening today. Just as a precaution, I decided to close the grounds for maintenance, uh, just to make sure that we don't have any mourners coming to visit their departed. Uh, so we should be good on that end. And as long as we don't cause too much of a problem or a stir, I don't think there'll be any issues with the authorities. But I do have some precautions set up just in case.
Okay, good, perfect. We can get the furnace at least turned off. I know that's something we want to do. But Joseph, you were looking into things. Did you want to bring things up?
Yeah. Good digging, going out, trying to find as much information as I could. And I don't have a lot to give us. It's going to vary greatly depending on exactly what this thing is. But to recap what I know and what we figured out about the type of thing we're fighting, it's definitely a bane of some kind. When it is possessing an object, it can be hurt as that object. So while it is possessing this furnace, the furnace is what we can harm it with. We harm it through. If we hurt the furnace, we'll hurt it. They'll get to a point where it's basically not worth staying in the furnace, or if we destroy the furnace, it will break out of that possession and it will go into the Umbra. I don't know what it's going to do when it's in the Umbra, if it's going to continue to try to attack, if it's going to leave because there's nothing for it to manifest in. So that's a thing to watch out for. Once we break it free of its tether, it may try to jump somewhere else, another one of the furnaces or something. As for the type of bane, this could just be a rage spirit, given that it's feeding on us and our dead. That's going to be a lot of rage there. It could be despair. Real stretch, I think it could be a balefire spirit. But balefire is usually green, so I think the fire's coming from the furnace and not from the spirit itself. But if at any point we see green fire, be prepared that if we're fighting it on the umbral side, it will still have fire. It won't just get that from its possession. So the plan, what we can do, I don't know for sure. We're gonna have to kind of be flexible. We got to get it out from what it's possessing. That's a given. We have to get it out of the furnace. Probably destroying the furnace is the way to do that. We could rebuild another one or something. I just don't know if it's going to jump to another one of the furnaces. We have a few, right? So that's my concern. If we can get it out of this furnace, we probably will have to be, some of us will have to be on the Umbra to get it away from the other ones. Fighting on the Umbra will be just like fighting over here, though. It will be damageable as a spirit, but we can punch it, claw it, bite it, etc.
Okay. A couple of things. What is a balefire spirit?
It's a spirit made of the fires of hell, I guess would be the most modern way of putting it. Balefire is this sickly green flame of corruption that's from the corrupted worm. And depending on the lore, other things pull on it too. It's probably like some part of the underworld that is all fire and whatnot, but it's like green and it smells of brimstone and it's nasty and it's terrible. It hurts like fire, but it also is spooky.
Spooky
So
fire.
yeah, I didn't see any green in the flames. It looked like normal fire, so I'm hopeful that it's not one of those. And once we kick it out of the furnace, it should just be, probably claws and whatnot.
Okay. But if it's on our side, can it still do the spooky green, or is it just going to come out normal red?
I feel like what I remember of things that were touched by balefire is they're balefire. So if it's manifesting on our side, it still would be green. I've heard stories of some of our corrupted type that use it. The corrupted ones of us that use it, and they'll manifest green fire. So my guess is rage or terror or despair. Any of those things manifesting and being corrupted by the worm can get to this. And if it's manifesting in a thing that makes fire, that fire makes sense.
Okay. One other thing. If they are leaving their host, I guess, would they have to jump into the Umbra and then jump into something else? Is there a bit of time, or are they just going to jump right back into like another thing?
Yeah, it's going to step into the Umbra. There'd be a little bit of time. We could possibly try to block it. That's where somebody on the Umbra would be pushing it away or scaring it off or whatever that may be. It's not an immediate. It would be a process of finding a suitable host and then stepping into it. I don't know which of these furnaces may be more or less marked by the history of us. So maybe this one was just the one they always used and the other ones aren't as touched by that. But for general purposes, like when we saw banes around people, that they couldn't just if we push that bane off of a person, they couldn't just jump into anybody or jump into us. They have to jump into something with that weakness, something with that connection. If it's a despair bane, then it's going to jump into someone who's feeling despair. If it's a terror one, it's going to look for that same emotion or sensation or whatever drew it to the first host. It's going to need that again. So if the other ones aren't marked by us, then maybe we'll be clear. It's not exactly safe for us to go in and try to clean the other ones right now. So it's not like we can prep for that, which is a shame. But I guess our best hope is to try to push it back, get it out of the host, and then react on the umbral side, which means probably splitting up.
Okay. Jester, Aiden, do you have any questions?
Just in case, does balefire do anything else but burn, or?
I don't know. It burns just like fire does. I mean, we're not exactly like resistant to fire like we are
Right.
sticks and swords and stuff. So I would treat it just like fire. I don't know if there'd be more lingering effects of like venom, kind of, because it is worm taint manifested, the way that some things might have like a venomous touch or a poisonous aspect to it. I don't know if that would linger any more or less, but I mean, fire hurts real bad, so balefire probably also hurts real bad.
Question. Whoever goes over into the Umbra and comes back, will there be a gap of time when they come back? Like what happened last time?
There's no way to answer that. Ideally, I mean, since we're going to be dealing with things happening at the same time, hopefully not, right? There's no weird travel happening. We're going to be in one place. We're dealing with one spirit. Hopefully that means there's not going to be a huge gap of us fighting in the Umbra for 3 days, but it feels like 3 minutes. The Umbra is unpredictable in that aspect, but that, given what we're doing and the fact that we're not doing a long jaunt and a quest, I don't expect it to be super long. I know my old jogs, when I would just go out, they wouldn't be 3 or 4 days long.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Eliza has remained fairly quiet, letting Joseph take the lead on the conversation, just nodding her head with an approving little smirk on her face as he speaks. But as the conversation pauses, she speaks up and says, "The other thing you have to be considerate of is drawing other spirits with the conflict. Because there are spirits everywhere. They're all around us. There are many, many spirits. If the conflict gets raging and there are other banes possessing anything in their region, in the area, or just fluttering about as they do, they may be drawn to the conflict, incited by your own emotions, incited by your own rage and brutality. So while you are fighting, you must be also keeping your head on a swivel for anything else that may come pulled by the conflict."
Okay, that's something to be aware of. Also, Eliza and Joseph, do I need to summon the spirit forward before we can move forward with the situation?
Well, this is where it gets tricky. Because those that go into the Umbra are going to need someone with them that can bring them back. You can't just cross back over on yourselves. Now, that's why I came here, is to make sure that we could have one of us on either side that's capable of creating the way. Now, I can potentially exorcise the spirit from the furnace. I can push it out. Now, that's not to say it'll stay out. It could try to find its way back in, find another way back in, and that's not to say there aren't spirits in the other furnaces already, even if they are lesser, or maybe not banes particularly. The issue, as Joseph mentioned, is if it tries to run. And if it successfully runs, it has no reason not to return. Whereas if it is defeated and destroyed on the other side, it will, in a sense, cease to be. It will not be the same. Now, that's not to say other banes like it couldn't be formed, but it will not be the same bane. I'm sorry, what was your question again?
I was wondering if I needed to summon the spirit forward.
No, it's very much present.
Okay. Also, excuse my ignorance, is there something we need to do as far as cleansing afterwards if we are able to dispatch the bane? Do we need to cleanse the area so another bane doesn't enter, or how does that work?
Yes, there are scavenger banes that could be drawn to the remnants of what's left behind, and they are troublesome, to say the very least. They aren't as potent and as problematic, so if we were to rid this particular bane and you were to successfully destroy it, it will leave the essence of a corpse behind. Something that other banes will be drawn to, or if, and I'm not hoping for this, one of you were to die in the Umbra, they would be drawn to that as well. So one, make sure that doesn't happen, certainly. But yes, there are rites that I could do to, with Joseph's assistance, potentially cleanse the area after the bane is removed.
That, and once this is clear and we can keep moving forward on the establishment of the caern, setting up our caern and setting up the bond will give us a bit of protection from infiltration again. So got to keep moving forward with that. That'll give us a little bit more security. Now they can still get in. It's just going to be a little harder. But will also be easier. It'll be easier for us in the long run to get rid of them when they are around because of that.
Okay. Well, that answers the beginning, middle, and I guess close to the end part. The rest that needs to be established is who's going on the other side and who is staying here. My personal beliefs are we send Aiden, Jester, and Joseph to the Umbra, and Eliza and Artie can stay on this side with me to hold back whatever we need to on this side while you fight it on the other side, if it does show up and does not run away.
Does Jester's
The clave.
I leave.
thank you. Would that help?
Spirits are not prone to silver like we are. It has no
Dang.
other special effects on them other than a typical blade would.
So
Also,
would we be able to take that, like, if Jester, I don't know if you prefer claws to weapons, but could we, because it is special, would it come cross over with her?
It would.
Thought so. Okay.
I'm still not confident in using it yet. I'd like some more training, so I think I prefer claws at this point.
Okay.
Now there are two different issues. Joseph, while you have learned much, there is still much left for you to learn. If I stay on this side, I could successfully banish it, get it out of the furnace, as well as any others that might be in the other furnaces. The question is, if I'm on the other side, I could ensnare it, which keeps it from being able to run. slows it down, keeps it in one place for the most part. Both of these have their benefits, but that means if I go over and with the intent of ensnaring it, I will not be able to banish it also. You will have to find a way to dismantle it and destroy the furnace to get it to come out on the other side. If I'm on this side, I can banish it and the furnace can remain intact for the time being, but that means it is fully capable of running once it is on the other side. So the question is, what's more valuable? The ability to remove it from the furnace with little harm, or the ability to keep it in one place and keep it from fleeing to the wild Umbra?
If it flees, it may come back. It may also decide that it's not worth the trouble. That's a gamble if we don't destroy it before it runs. I worry that destroying it on this side could cause even more damage to us. Not just the furnace, but the fact that it can manifest flame and it can react on this side. That would be 2 fights that have to happen. A fight on this side to destroy it, and then a fight on the other side to destroy it. Even once you ensnare it, we still have to destroy it. Or we could have possibly one fight on the other side that could end up with it escaping, but not being our problem for a little bit until we can set up more defenses, or we destroy it.
Well,
Before
depending
I
on the
put
type
in,
of bane it is, will determine its strategy. Certain banes prefer to flee if they have nothing to inhabit. Other banes will fight no matter where they are.
so before I put in my opinion, Aiden and Jester already, do you have thoughts?
Just put me where you need me.
Well, I prefer we don't do as much damage to this area, at least on this plane, as possible, because damage draws attention. I mean, if the building explodes or if we light the entire cemetery on fire for one reason or another, that is going to be a lot of explanation and attention that needs to happen. However, also, if they're on the other side and this is one of the fighty banes, the likelihood of them coming back becomes an issue as well, especially if something were to happen to Joseph or Eliza on the other side. They lose their door, they lose their key and their way out. And after seeing what happens when we're stuck on the other side for too long, I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Do we want to fail safe? Since we're going to at least have one gatekeeper on each side that after a set amount of time come over.
Well, you have the ability to look in the Umbra, and I'm sure, looks over at Eliza nervously, she does too. So as long as you have eyes on both sides of the situation, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. But it's also not an instantaneous transfer. It takes time and it takes effort, and I don't know what the veil or gauntlet is like around here, but if it's particularly thick, that could also cause an issue.
Shouldn't be too bad here. But yeah, it's just as hard to see through as it is to jump through. It's just riskier jumping through because it can hurt.
Okay, well, my decision is that we still send Joseph, Jester, and Aiden to the Umbra. Because with Joseph and Aiden together, his tracking and his expertise within the Umbra, if it does decide to run, there's a way of tracking it if we need to do that. Which Eliza, you being able to see on that side, will be able to know how that's going. And you're able to banish the spirit to that side, which makes it much easier for them. And with Jester and Aiden together, those are our two strongest fighters, which allows the Bane to be dispatched a lot easier and a lot faster. And then Artie and I on this side with Eliza, we can keep an eye on this side to make sure nothing's getting too banged up. How does that sound to everyone?
So you're planning on cutting the gas to try to prevent it from using a lot of fire, right?
Yes.
And then Eliza's going to banish it, and we're going to be waiting in the Umbra. That I understand. Okay.
Correct.
You should be fine in the Umbra, Eliza says, as long as you have the spirits with you, as long as the wolf remains inside you. If you lose it for any reason, the longer you stay, the harder it's going to be to maintain. You are going to start to feel yourself wither and decay. So if at any point you lose that part of you, you need to get out.
Okay. I can help with that before we all split. I can help at least bring a little more of our anger forth.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. I will see if I can find it. Anyways, I will be using Song of Rage. So I will be singing a song about past Garu, perhaps not here, but the ones I know from Colorado, fighting Banes and the stories they had there. And then I'm going to roll Charisma and Glory and a Rage check. I'm good on the Rage. Where is it?
We'll
Oh.
also say, because of the intensity of the situation, everybody can gain an additional rage as well.
Okay.
Do I heal the 2 superficial that I took?
Yes. Because of the overnight's rest and everything, you should be fully healed.
Cool.
So I got 5 successes. The gift test is a difficulty of 3. Everyone else except me can, within an earshot of the song, gain a point of rage.
So I believe that puts most of you at 2 and Aiden at 3.
I'm also going to use Moon Riled. So I'm going to howl at the moon. Get myself an additional rage.
Actually, most of you at 3 and Aiden at 4. I realized
That is
I gave you the point of rage going into the conflict.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Okay.
I'm gonna howl at the moon. I'll take the 4.
So are you doing it in the nighttime then, to howl at the moon, everyone? Is that what we're doing, is planning on engaging at night?
I think so.
Okay. Just checking.
Ultimately, it's up to Aspen.
I mean, what's their phase? It might be out during the day today.
Let me look and see.
Last quarter, which means it was up at last quarter would be up just before sunset, last part of the day.
Yeah, so
We'll do it whenever the moon is out. That's what we will do.
okay.
So,
So
evening?
dusk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, looking towards the large brick crematorium that's positioned in the back behind many of the the entombment spaces that have been laid out for those that have come before. Dusk falling, the sun drifting beyond the horizon, dark starting to set in and creep its way over the sky. Are you making the shift into the Umbra before you disconnect the gas, or are you doing that first?
Disconnect the gas first.
Yeah.
Okay. As the group starts to gather closer and closer to the mausoleum, you hear the sound of metal clanking over and over and over again, almost like grinding, chomping teeth, as the grate within the mausoleum opens, or within the crematorium opens and closes in a banging, repetitive motion. Everyone starts to feel heat emanating from within. This presence is very, very aware of you and is preparing for you as you draw closer. Who's going to go and disconnect the gas to the furnace? I will say that the gas line is inside the crematorium attached to the furnace itself.
So with that happening, with the preemptive kind of chomping and heat that's happening, Aspen would look to the others. I would start getting the rite going now. That way you're ready and prepared once we get the
Okay.
gas turned off.
All right. Joseph will pull out his kit, his little bowl, and start gathering his herbs, burning them together. Call Aiden and Jester over to him, do his chanting, light the collection of herbs and incense, gather them in, take a deep, deep breath, and enact the ritual.
Okay. So as you're
That is-
preparing and doing the chanting,
Yep.
it's going to
Rite of
take a few
shadow
moments
passage.
for you to make the shift over, so you'll still be here while they're going through the process of doing it, but you'll shift over shortly after it's disconnected. Because it does, I would say, take 15 or so minutes for you to actually fulfill the full rite of shadow passage. Artie looks over to Aspen. So I guess I'll go disconnect this.
I got it.
Are you sure? I don't think this is a good idea. If it's waiting for us, it's probably going to do something as soon as that door opens.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, we could both go.
None of this makes me feel better.
Well, something's got to give. All right, I'll let you do it. You go ahead. Go.
Just, I'm worried about you. That's all.
I know. So I'll wait. I'll let you do it.
Okay. He approaches the door and, standing on the outside, opens the door and pushes it in before backing up from the door immediately. As if it was expected, a large roar of flame comes issuing out of the doorway, making this open door a open mouth awaiting anything that goes inside. You can hear the same clanking of the hatch that goes into the furnace itself. After the flames die down and you can hear the hissing of the gas preparing to issue another gout, Artie quickly slips inside. I actually have to roll for him, see how well he does. He's already going to spend a willpower. So Artie enters into the furnace room You hear the hissing of the gas starting up again, and then you hear another whoosh of fire as it pulls back in. You hear a very tense voice. I'm okay. Give me another second. He tries to move further in. After another second, another whoosh emanates and more flame spills out of the open doorway, accompanied with a pained, blood-curdling scream. Aspen, what are you doing?
Well, can I see him? Can I see anything that's happening?
Roll me a wits and awareness. You probably wouldn't stand right in front of the doorway because the flame seems to spill out of the door itself. So it would be a very dangerous place to stand, but in between the fire, you could look.
2.
As you look inside, you can see Artie is standing near the furnace itself, attempting to reach behind it, but you can see that most of his clothes are smoking and burned, and some of it seems to still apparently be on fire. From the looks of it, he has shifted up into his glabro form, but you can still see a lot of the hair has been burned away, and that there are blisters forming on the blackened flesh.
Do I see a fire extinguisher? Because I would assume, with regulations, that there is a fire extinguisher somewhere in the vicinity.
You do see a fire extinguisher attached to the door, or toward the wall close to the door.
Where the fire is spilling out.
On the inside, yeah.
Okay, then I will move into Glabro as well and go grab the fire extinguisher.
Okay. As you make your way in, go ahead and roll me a dexterity and athletics as another hiss and whoosh comes out as the furnace shoots out another gout of fire.
0.
0 successes. Okay.
Yes, but I rolled my rage to go into Glabro and I did lose 1 rage, just so you're aware.
Okay. Okay. Take 3 points of aggravated physical damage as the fire engulfs you, engulfing the entire room in flame, setting your clothes ablaze almost immediately. Let's see if Artie gets it as well. Artie does manage to dodge out of the way of the fire itself, moving towards the machine, but the fire does hit you, covering you in fire. It's almost like liquid fire covering your body, but you do reach the fire extinguisher.
Then I'm going to put myself out and make sure it stays, the fire is extinguished around where Artie is specifically. So the heat will still be there, but the fire specifically is staying away from his vicinity. And I will be out of the way enough to where the fire is not going to hit me directly.
Okay. Artie is going to enact Gremlins to try and get some spiritual aid in breaking down the furnace itself. He succeeds on the check. Okay. Roll me another dexterity and athletics. I will give you a bonus because of the fire extinguisher, because with the fire coming, you could try and pump the extinguisher to blow out. 2 successes. Take 1 more point of aggravated fire damage as you are able to put out the mist in front of you of the extinguisher. It blocks a good majority of the flames that emit forward, but some of the excess does catch on the edge of you, burning ever so slightly. At this point, there is some clanking and banging noises within the furnace itself. You can hear these little footsteps running around on the inside as if these little tiny creatures are inside the furnace itself, unplugging and breaking different parts of the interior of the furnace. You hear the hissing of the gas start to emanate again, but then a chunk shuts off, and the flames within the furnace itself die down. At this point, Eliza steps into the room and begins murmuring as she prepares to banish the spirit. Joseph, what did you get on your crossover roll? 4 successes. So as the chanting continues, all of you feel yourself departing the physical plane and moving over into the Umbra. As you emerge on the other side, the entire area looks burned, scarred, and scorched all around. From the center of where the furnace is, you can see webs of the weaver holding together the entire building, but several of them look like they have been blackened and broken, many of them having to be repaired by spiders over time. The fire's gone within the furnace itself on the material plane. And as Eliza issues out her commands, she moves forward and touches the furnace. And on the other side, there is almost like an explosive sound as something else breaks through to the Umbra almost forcefully as the spirit emanates out. What you see next are little flying motes that come swarming out of the furnace itself. The furnace is also a construction made of the Umbra with webs holding it together. But in a popping explosion, several flies come emanating out the other side in a swarming formation, taking shape on the other side in the Umbra. Joseph, go ahead and roll me an intelligence and occult.
Am I allowed to add my specialty?
Yes, you are.
Awesome. Four successes.
Okay. From what you see on the other side, what has broken forth, what has been banished from the furnace is in fact a scavenger pack swarm of all these little spiritual flies that come breaking out but staying together in a formation, almost a whirlwind of these little insectoid creatures. With a droning hum, they immediately turn and, recognizing you there, start moving forward to try and consume. Several pattern spiders have come from outside of the mausoleum and are still trying to repair many of the burned, scarred, and broken parts of their web. So, Aiden, Jester, and Joseph, declare your intentions.
Any
Just
advice?
how do we fight that?
Kill it. That's it.
Like each individual one, or just
Kill it. The way you'd kill anything.
okay?
He's
All right.
gonna shift into Krynos.
I'm going to shift into Kronos as well.
Yep, gonna follow suit.
Okay, so 2 rage checks apiece.
Good
I
on
lost
both.
one. I'm good though. I still have 3.
Okay. As you make the transition into Krynos, it's very wearing on the body, the skin becoming fur, the fingernails becoming claws, your maws elongating, filled with jagged, sharp teeth. Does anyone have rapid shift? Okay, so you're at a -2 on any attempts to do any kind of attack damage as the swarm comes towards you. Are any of you going to try to attack?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so roll
Yes.
strength and brawl checks for me. Are these with claws or teeth?
Gun claws.
Claws for now.
Close.
Let's go ahead and make those rolls. Yes, Aspen.
While they're doing that, can I roll 2 rage to get rid of one of the aggravated?
Yes, go ahead. It's going to take 2 rage checks. Or, well, you have to do that in Krynos form. I thought to get rid of aggravated, it could only happen in Krynos.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
I don't know.
I think it is Krynos.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can regenerate regular damage in any other form, but Krynos has to be for aggravated.
Right.
We'll come
I got
back
a brutal
to that.
critical.
Read up on it, Aspen, but we'll come back to that.
I got a brutal.
Okay, so how many total successes, even with the brutal?
7.
Okay.
9.
I'm a clean 6.
So all of you launch into the fray, being surrounded by these biting, stinging, wasp-like spirits that try to consume all of you, but you wrench out with claws, raking at the air, tearing into these swarms as they come around you. From what you can tell, you have damaged the swarm, and it has not done any damage to you this round. You can see several of the flies almost dissipating as they are hit or dropping to the ground as you rake through the swarms. Declare your intentions for the next round.
Rinse and repeat.
Yep.
I'm going to make a rage check, and I'm going to add Raging Strike, which gives me my glory equal an additional dice, but I will also be attacking.
Okay, roll the dice. Strength and brawl.
I kept my rage. All right.
That is a really good, strong start for you guys.
I'm going to spend a willpower to reroll 3 dice.
Okay. So 3 for
It's-
Joseph.
My biggest pool.
Okay. So as you reach into and start rending this entire swarm apart, flies dying left and right, eventually the swarm starts to disperse and break down into smaller chunks, dissipating more and more with each attack that you unleash upon it. It seems like the swarm, while a good majority of it has been dispersed, has actually broken off into smaller swarms now, smaller collections of bugs, causing the one large swarm of bugs to break down into 4 very small swarms of bugs that continue to attack. On this round, I'd like you to declare which swarm you're attacking 1 through 4.
I'll go for 1.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the one that Joseph's going with.
Ouch. I'm gonna do 4.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're not going to split your pool amongst the various swarms. You're just going to
Oh,
go
yeah, you can do
fully
that.
into one swarm.
You can.
Can I attack 2 swarms as one person?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You just have to
Okay.
split your successes. You have to decide how many successes go to one swarm, how many successes go to the other swarm. So go ahead and roll your full pools, and then tell me how many successes you want to attribute to each pool.
'Kay.
Or to each
Okay.
swarm. They are, however, attacking with their full pools.
Can I burn a will?
Yes.
8 on a critical. You know what? I'll split. I'll do 6 on number 3 and 2 on the number 4 with Joseph attacking too.
Okay.
I got 6 on 4.
6 on 4. You're just putting all your energy into 4.
Oh yeah, I'm not that good.
Okay. And then
Okay, so
how
I
do you
will
want to
do.
split this 8?
I'll do 6 on 1, and then the other 2 on 3. So that should be 5 on 3, 6 on 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you break through and do a significant amount of damage, Aiden, to pool 1. However, the second pool starts to swarm over you, and you take 2 points of superficial damage as they are stinging and biting and burying into your flesh. Jester and Joseph. Jester, you said, how were you splitting it?
6 on number 3, and then 2 on number 4 to aid Joseph.
Okay. So as you focus most of your effort into number 3, you manage to disperse a good portion of that swarm, killing several of the flies and bugs that seem to be appearing within it. Joseph, you focusing on number 4 with all of your fury, you are able to grind down and destroy this swarm. However, Jester, you do take 2 points of superficial as well, and that is already halved.
Okay. Is that was that from number 4 or 3?
That was from number 3.
Okay. Then I would like to do a rage check and activate Porcupine's Reprisal. Since damage sustained, I could upon receiving damage from brawl or melee, and I believe they're attacking me with brawl or melee, I can make a rage check and immediately deal superficial damage equal to my glory.
Okay, make the rage check.
I do not make it, but I haven't lost the wolf yet. I'm still good. So take 2 superficial.
Okay. So it does, yeah, the swarms try to come in and bite at you, but as you activate the Porcupine's Reprisal, you almost grow spikes out of your form that stab into the various swarms, causing them to pull back and several of the bugs to fly away, very disoriented and disturbed. Okay, next round. Declare your intentions.
Gonna go for it's all 4 groups are still there, right?
All 4 groups are still there, yes. But
Okay.
they do look like they are weakened significantly.
I'll split again. I'll see how many successes I get and go from there.
I think I'm going to concentrate on taking 3 out.
I'm gonna do 4.
So, Aiden, you're splitting between 1 and 2. Jester's going after 3. Joseph's going after 4.
Yep.
Okay.
That's 7 with a crit. I'm gonna do 4 for 1, 3 for 2.
Okay.
I got 6. Wait. I got 7. Over here miscounting.
3 from Joseph. Okay. So, Aiden and Jester, you are able to handily deal with your swarms, clawing and raking at them, causing the bugs to completely disperse, and most of them dying and dropping to the ground. The others so disturbed by everything that has happened that they are flying around with very little direction or concern for where they're going. Joseph, however, the swarm is too much. It's just overbearing for you as it encompasses you and does 1 point of superficial damage to you, seemingly unaffected by your attacks. Final round. There's 1 swarm remaining and 3 of you.
Fuck it up.
Yep.
All right, one
Yep.
last roll should do it.
Five.
10. I got a brutal again and a crit.
3.
So, on the prime material plane, Aspen, you are attempting to put out the last remnants of fire on you. Artie is also doing the same. You can see Eliza is focusing with her eyes slightly out of focus as to what's in front of her as she's watching with penumbral senses what happens beyond. She then looks over in one direction and starts moving that way as she moves to another one of the furnaces that stands nearby and begins doing the same chanting and incanting as she approaches the furnace and shoves her hand on it and starts to prepare to banish another spirit from another one of the furnaces. Is there anything you'd like to do at the moment? Did you look up that regeneration to see if I was right?
I'm not sure where the rule is. It just says 2 health boxes in Krynos for 1 rage check, and then 1 health box in Glabro or Hispo with 1 rage check. So I'm not sure where the ruling on that is.
Okay, go ahead and make the 2 rage checks. I'll let you heal the 1 ag. I'll have to double check on that later.
Okay, I rolled 2 6s, so
2 6s. Okay, so you are able to mend some of the fire damage that is done to your skin, but you are still very much kind of covered in this black coal over your form, and much of your flesh has blistered and broken out, and the pain is very much understated. It's there. Okay, so in the Umbra, Joseph, did you activate penumbral senses when you got across?
No, I don't know if I can go the other way, can I?
You can, yeah. That's how
I
they
did
were
not.
seeing you from the Umbra.
Crossing over and hearing that pop, I just went into fight mode.
Okay. So the 3 of you gang up on this last remaining swarm, tearing it to shreds when you hear another pop emanate from one of the nearby furnaces. Out of this doesn't come a swarm. In fact, what comes out of the side is a sickly, luminous blob appears. And as it turns towards you, it glows with a flickering phosphorescence that darts about like turgid fireflies within the blob itself. As it pops through, you can see the blob start to emanate with a green flickering glow inside as it begins to charge up the balefire. I need all 3 of you to roll me a dexterity and athletics as the blob just breaks apart and a gout of this green fire explodes out of it.
That's 6 with the crit.
I got 4.
Seven with crit.
Okay. So both Aiden and Joseph are able to leap out of the way of this gout of flame that erupts from the firmling. But Jester, you are not quite fast enough as you take 2 points of aggravated damage as the fire hits you and starts to burn away at one of your legs from down below. At this point, the blob starts to shift and move as it's starting to move away. Make your intentions for this round. The scavenger spirits seem to be significantly dispatched of and do not pose any more threat at the moment.
I'm gonna use lacerating wind on it.
Okay.
If it's I'm able to succeed, it'd take -2 to any physical attacks.
Okay.
I'm gonna go after it. I'm still big, scary, but werewolf.
Good on my rage.
I'm going to heal my 2 superficial damage that I got last round.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm gonna go in. This is not gonna be fun, but hey.
All right, and 5 successes to hit it with the lacerating wind.
Yeah, and it has to try and resist with Dex and Athletics.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna spend a willpower. I got 5 successes.
Okay.
I'm gonna spend a willpower too. Oh no, I can't. It's all rage. 5 successes.
5 successes. As you all go to strike out, Aiden throwing your claws out with the wind emitting from them, heading in the direction of it, it simply jukes to one side, jukes to the other, and then jukes a third time with its 8 successes to dodge. As none of you are able to make 8, 7, 6. None of you are able to make impact with it, as it seems very evasive and continues to try and shift and move its way further away, moving back from you. Declare your intentions.
Well, now I'm pissed. Alright, I'm gonna use Razor Claws. Do the rage check. Good.
I'm gonna use Raging Strike. Good.
I'm just gonna claw at it.
Okay. So make the rolls and we'll see how it does.
Alright, this round I can spend a willpower. That was a crit. Thanks for that willpower roll.
I got 6 successes.
6 successes. Okay. So all 3 of you moving towards this globulous form, it tries to juke and jive out of the way and continue to move away. But all of you make contact in one form or another. Your claws digging into this gelatinous, glowing, phosphorescent form, raking it across and sending a splatter of its gelatin form splattering over the ground nearby. I also need all of you to make another dexterity and athletics form. As it opens up itself, it spits out another gout of flame. Alright, so 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Aiden, take 3 points of aggravated damage. Joseph, take 2 points of aggravated damage. And Jester, take 1 point of aggravated damage as it bathes the area in fire, having been clawed apart or clawed in small sections by the 3 of you. Final round. Declare your intentions.
Rip and tear.
I'll go for another Razor Claw. Did not make that rage.
Yeah, I'll go for another Raging Strike. Didn't make the rage. It's okay.
Five successes. Okay. Seven successes.
I'm spending a willpower. Seven successes.
Okay. All of you falling upon this gelatinous form, you start to rend and tear, and as you do so, you hear screams, almost bestial screams, coming from the form itself as you tear into it, just grabbing entire chunks of this gelatin-filled fluid and tearing it off and throwing it off to the side. You do manage to rend and tear your way through this form as it tries to get away, but as you're breaking it apart, it keeps falling into smaller and smaller bits until the entire form is torn to shreds, leaving nothing but gelatin and dead spiritual flies all over the ground around you. The flames do burn, and they feel almost sickly, not just painful, but sickly at the places that have been burned and exposed to the flames. However, you are successful in defeating the Firmling and the Scavenger Pack, leaving nothing but silence and decay and death surrounding you. The scene is yours.
Going to
Ow.
look around and then revert back to Hamid.
Yeah.
Look to him. Joseph, I need leaves.
Well, give me a sec. I'm gonna go ahead and try to heal, right? I can heal?
Yeah,
2 rage checks?
as long as you're still in Krynos.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. Alright, I lose 1 rage, but I'm gonna get rid of one of my boxes. Okay.
I'm just gonna shift down because I only have 1 rage left, and I'm not gonna risk it, at least until we get out.
Yeah, no. I'll shift back down into Glabro. Make the rage check for that. Okay. And then I will
So you're going to try to see to Aiden and execute some of that medical knowledge to try and patch him up, although you don't really have any medical supplies on this side.
yeah, that's I think crossing back over before we do that will be easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we did it?
Step over. We did it. Let's go back to the other side and get patched up.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and make the chain, or make the transition as you activate the Rite of Shadow Passage once more. Aspen, Crafty has spent 30,000 blood points to heal another ag for you. It seems that the fire from the furnace didn't hit you as bad as it seemed.
I'm spending another willpower because I got like all 5s. There we go. All right, I got like 4 successes now. We're good.
With 4 successes.
It's also too easy. It's the difficulty of 2 easier because of my silver steps.
And with that extra help, it makes the transition a lot better as you all come together, echoing the chanting coming forth from Joseph, becoming a lot more practiced in crossing over. The 3 of you do make the transition, coming to the other side once more. Aspen, as you are finishing recovering as best as you can from the gouts of flame, already doing the same, he shifts back into his Hamid form, and you can still see that most of his clothes have burned off of his form, but he goes back over to the furnace to finish dismantling it, just to be sure, just to give them no place to come back to or to draw other spirits as you do so. The 3 of you emerge on the other side, back on the material plane. You can see you're in the furnace room, in the crematorium, and you can see burned, scorched walls all along the brickwork. You can see Artie and Aspen both not looking the best, still very blistered and burned, but it matches your own to a certain degree as you look down at yourselves. You can see all of the paperwork that was on the wall is completely burned away at this point, leaving a charcoaly blacked clipboard hanging off of the wall. But you are back, and the scene is yours.
gonna run over to Artie. What year is it? I'm just kidding. You all right?
Yeah, I think. Did you guys do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ow!
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh
That
shit!
that
Look at you guys.
that second one was not fun.
There were 2 of them.
Yeah, the bugs were one thing. It was the blob thing that was not fun.
I
On the
noticed.
plus side, we know what Balefiler looks like.
And feels like
I noticed during your scrap there was still some activity that wasn't tended to when I purged the first group, so I went to another part of the furnace infrastructure. This thing collected banes like, well, flies to a pile of shit.
the second one was a firmling. It was a balefire spirit. It must have been hiding, maybe smarter than the others. The first group was just a bunch of scavengers working together, a bunch of minor banes in a swarm.
Makes sense if they've been collecting bodies for so long that the scavengers would be drawn to it as well. They devour and ingest lesser spirits to keep growing their mass.
We're gonna have to do this more reverently in the future to keep those feelings from building up.
So we are going to have to do this more often.
I mean, if we can keep, it's like cleaning up your house so you don't get ants. It's the same thing. We're just gonna have to make sure to not leave anything behind, and we keep this place clean on this side, both physically and spiritually. But I think we can keep them from building up like that again by taking care of it.
I have to make the passage over to ensure to cleanse the area, and none of you look in any condition to do so with me, so Joseph, just keep eyes on me and let me know if you see anything. I'll be watching you as well for any signal.
I can go with you. Oh, I don't mind.
She looks over at you, looking at the burned flesh. Are you certain?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you have eyes in the back of your head, but I can be those eyes.
It would be good to have someone else over there with me if you think you are physically up for it.
Always.
All right, come over here, sit down. She sits cross-legged on the ground and starts going through the passage of Rite of Shadow Passage in her own way, in a way very, very different from Joseph and the way he's enacted it in the past. She sits across from you, gesturing for you to sit in front of her, and holds out her hands, palms up, for you to put your hands in hers. As you do so, she closes her eyes and starts speaking in a language that isn't English, one that you don't understand. But as she speaks, you feel yourself almost like little pinpricks start to come across your skin, almost starting to emanate. As the 3 others watch, you see her and him start to dissolve slowly, becoming less and almost transparent and see-through as they make a slow transition to the other side, like little pinpricks of light breaking off across their skin before they fade off and disappear, leaving translucent form behind until it is completely gone. Aiden, on the other side, once you've made the full transition, you feel the whoosh of air across you as you enter into the Umbra once more. The transition feels different, but almost numb and smoother than your previous transitions to the Umbra have been. Well practiced, well versed. Almost like a tingling sensation washed over you rather than a full transition. She gives your hand a squeeze and lets them go before she stands up and starts making her way around the interior of this pattern spidered built building. As she moves over to the various walls, she reaches out and touches them, continuing to speak in a language, and she runs her fingers across the edge of the spider's web, and as she does so, there's a slight glow that trails along her fingertips as she does. She moves over to the gelatinous mounds and starts muttering over them, and as she does so, you see the form of the gelatinous mound start to dissipate into an almost hazy smoke. And as she makes them dissipate, she breathes in the smoke and starts to almost ingest the essence of the spirits or the spiritual remnants as she moves across, decaying what little bit of the remnants are left in the umbra.
Is that good? How's that taste?
It's just energy. Nothing to be worried about. This isn't a practice that those within the nation or most spirits think highly of, but it does ensure that there's nothing left behind. Nothing to draw other banes.
Okay.
After she finishes cleaning up the remnants of flies and gelatinous goop on the ground, she looks out, looking towards the pattern spiders that have moved in and started to repair the building, and she says, "Forgive me." Then she moves and sits in the place she was sitting before and holds out her hands to you.
Oh, come over and grab onto her hands again.
Takes probably a good 20-30 minutes for her to clean up the area, but once it's clean, you see that there are no remnants of the spiritual flies, no gelatinous goop left anywhere, and you can see from the spider webs that they've all been significantly repaired or in some way enhanced. She closes her eyes again, begins the same chant as she did before, and you feel the numbness wash over your form, even with the stinging wounds and blisters of the bale fire from before. And the next thing you know, you're back in the crematorium in our world. Eliza looks a little tired as she emerges out the other side. It's done. This place is clean for now. We have to get that cairn built, though. Others will be drawn to this place more and more and more as they feel the power surge within.
Okay. Thank you very much for your help. And Joseph, I think this next week we should have a trip to Star, make it all official.
Call her down here.
Okay.
I'd like to see to your wounds over the next few days, too, to make sure they're healing properly. The fire you experienced on the other side is not like the fire we have here. It's a poison. And while you won't feel any immediate ill effects, the more you stay bathed in it, the more that it stays attached to your form, the more problematic it can become over time. But it's done. I don't recognize any other spiritual entities that aren't supposed to be here. Wounded, scarred, burned, and beaten. The pack is successful in cleansing the last remaining banes that stay within the cairn grounds. They have paved the way, cleared the area, and done what needs doing. Now all that remains is the building. All that remains is the erecting of the cairn. And with that, the sept of the Weeping Willow reborn will be formed, and other Guru may just find their way to Tampa once more. And this is where we'll bring our session to a close. Thank you so much to these amazing players. Thank you to all of you who've been watching at home. Our story is far from over. The caern has to be built, and the threat of the vampires of Tampa still looms overhead, plus whatever other problems that representative of Pentex may bring to the city of Tampa. Go follow these amazing players, follow us on social media down below, and tune into our podcast to stay caught up on all of our amazing stories. This week we've got some scheduled disruptions, but this Saturday we have an After Dark episode. On Sunday, Bloody Strings returns, and next Tuesday we'll be back with the next chapter of Rage Across Tampa. Thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely evening, everyone. Good night.